Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Week 6 of college football officially started on Wednesday when Arkansas State traveled to face Georgia Southern in a pretty good Sun Belt matchup. Arkansas State was able to escape with a huge road victory in conference. Last night on Thursday, North Carolina State defeated Louisville, and it was a minor ACC upset. North Carolina State is, in some people's eyes, looking like a prime ACC title contender, especially with Florida State down this year. They got a key win over Louisville. That game with Clemson in a few weeks is going to be very big for them. But now it's time to preview our biggest games for this Saturday of Week 6 in college football. Go ahead and take a look real quick. So our first three games are all at 2:30. LSU, Florida, West Virginia, TCU, and Miami, Florida State. All these games are at 2:30 on Saturday. We'll start with LSU at Florida. This is a huge game for both teams, but I would say more so for LSU. Coming off that loss to Troy, a stunning home loss to a Sun Belt team, LSU desperately needs a win here over Florida to get things back on track. If they drop this game, they will be 3-3, 0-2 in conference with a loss to Florida and Mississippi State that they lost earlier in the year. But right now, as I predicted earlier in the summer, I'm going to stick with Florida. I know they haven't been impressive to some, especially on offense, but I think with it being at home and at the Swamp, and with LSU maybe reeling a little bit after that unbelievable loss, I think Florida should be able to get the win over LSU. And I think Ed Orgeron will be on a very, very hot seat after this game if he loses to the Gators, because 3-3 in his first year, or the loss to Troy, not a very good win over Syracuse, and a blowout loss to Mississippi State is not what they were hoping for in Orgeron's first year, especially with the way they ended last year. And then West Virginia at number 8 TCU. This is where College Game Day is this Saturday, and this is a great game for them to be at. Huge Big 12 matchup. You got Will Grier at West Virginia versus Kenny Hill at TCU. I expect some very good offenses to go head-to-head here. And TCU's defense, though, is one to definitely keep an eye out for. Will Grier be able to expose them and kind of run all over them? We saw TCU pretty much shut down one of the best offenses in the country in Oklahoma State earlier this year. And I think they'll be able to do the same thing to West Virginia. I think they'll be able to get a few key stops there, and I think TCU will get the big Big 12 victory at home over West Virginia. That's going to be a really fun game to watch. And then number 13, Miami at Florida State. If you do remember, this game was scheduled for earlier in the year, but had to be rescheduled due to the hurricanes down in Florida. But this game, it was one that I had Florida State winning earlier in the year, and that was also before DeAndre Francois' injury. Miami is looking pretty good. Neither team has played many games. Florida State finally got their first win last week over Wake Forest. That improved them to 1-2. Miami has yet to lose this season. They're looking pretty good, so this will be a huge win for them if they can go on the road and beat Florida State. So I'm very interested to watch this game, see how Florida State responds, especially without Francois. This is probably their biggest game since his injury. And then Michigan State, number 7, Michigan. Huge rivalry game in the Big Ten. That'll be a really fun one to watch. If we remember, the last time these two teams played at the Big House was the crazy, whatever you want to call it, muff punt or the punt block, whatever you want to call it. Michigan State ended up scooping up the Michigan fumble off the punt and winning it as time expired. And that was just one of the craziest endings in college football history. Now they're meeting again. Michigan's only a 10-point favorite in this game, which kind of surprised me. Michigan State has played well. Their only loss is coming to Notre Dame. But I think the Wolverines will be able to pull this one out. Might be a little closer than some expect. Michigan State's going to give them a heck of a fight, but I think the Wolverines end up pulling it out. And then Washington State at Oregon. And we all remember, I even talked about it in my recap video from last week, Washington State getting that huge win over USC last week. That was probably one of their biggest wins in program history. Number 11 in the country now. And they're looking like prime Pac-12 title contenders, if not college football playoff contenders. They have a very tough road game at Oregon, who is not ranked yet, but they have a very dangerous offense, much like Washington State. Just a couple days ago, Washington State head coach Mike Leach said he's not too worried about the environment at Oregon, saying that the toughest stadium he's played at, the loudest stadium he's played at, is War Memorial Stadium here in Little Rock, Arkansas. So that was kind of a shot at Oregon there. Maybe Oregon will come out upset about that and show them what they're made of. This was a game that I predicted Oregon to win. I'm going to stand by that for now. I really do like this Washington State team. Would not surprise me if they win this game, especially with Luke Falk at quarterback. But I know that Austin Stadium is a very tough place to play, and Oregon is a very good offensive team. I can see them getting Washington State some trouble. But that's going to be a really fun one to watch. I believe it's at 7 o'clock on Fox. So keep an eye out for that. There are plenty of other games, too, this week that are going to be very exciting. You got Penn State Northwestern, Georgia Vanderbilt, Alabama plays Texas A&M. So plenty of other good games to keep an eye out for. These were just the biggest 5 in my eyes. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. I have received a few comments saying that I should, after Week 6 is over, kind of go back and reevaluate, maybe change a few picks, either based on injuries, like for Florida State, maybe change a few games for them that I predicted early in the year, or maybe change a few just based on a team doing better than I expected. And we might consider that doing that next week since we'll be at the halfway point of the season. So that's definitely something that we might consider. I'm not very big. I don't really like to change my predictions early or later on in the year. I like to kind of keep them to see what happens, whether there's an injury or a team's doing better. I like to keep them as they are, but we definitely might try to do that next week. So make sure you stay tuned on Sunday to watch the recap video and see if we do that. Also, if you haven't looked already, go check out Mark Rogers TV. I was on there for an interview lately. That was on Monday, so go check that out. He has a lot of good content on there. I was on there. We had a really good interview just talking college football and everything else. So make sure you go keep an eye on that. And also, one last thing, our Heisman Watch will return next week. Like I said, we're going to take a few weeks off to kind of reevaluate, really see how players do over a period of time. Heisman Watch will be back next week, so make sure you keep your eye out for that. And please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.